And down in the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the blue Protoss player from Team Liquid. He is MaNa. What are your feeling, Cats? You asked me for my predictions. I want to hear yours.
Now that I see the pro block, I have to say MaNa has a pretty good start, Ravi. I mean, it's just so annoying to do that. If you're a Zerg player, it's just annoying to deal with. MaNa does it consistently, so I have to imagine Vanya is kind of planning for it to some degree. But yeah.
Did he send out the 12 probe to do the block? Because I feel like we've seen more and more Protoss players sending out the probe on 12 or 13 supply extremely early on in the game just to get the hatch block.
It might have been, I wasn't paying attention if it was the 12th, 13th, 14th, but it was a pretty early probe to try and block this. I imagine it had to have been the 12th or 13th, seeing as this map is pretty large though.
Okay. All right, so when you see these hatch blocks and everything, and of course everyone already sees like, yes, the third base has to be taken instead of the natural. Is that really that big of a deal if you're gonna end up taking the other bases? I know people have talked about drone transferring and how you lose out on resources and stuff. Tell me a little bit more about what are the kind of like downsides of having to take this base, and what are like typical follow-ups that you think are kind of scary to deal with as a Zerg player?
Okay, so basically this is the most normal response. I think that there are other ways to go about it that are kind of unexplored. I think that people could start going like 3 hatch before pool, for example, and you don't really die too much of what Protoss can throw at you. Some people could. I like when some people are like scouting with the drone. Then all of a sudden, if you get blocked, you have a chance to counter block their economy and not fall so far behind, because it kind of buys you time where you can kind of retake that natural, or at least force a pylon or something a little bit more expensive. I find 12 pools aren't so bad against this if you can play some mind game. So I think there's some answers that can be different than the norm for Zerg, but this is what we see almost every pro do. And, you know, it's the transfer time that you were talking about, and it's the fact that the Protoss player is going to be able to attack bases that are further separated. So things like oracles, which have don't have to worry about the pathing, or adepts, which are very mobile, especially early on while there's no link speed, are the way for Protoss to go, I think.
Yeah, I think all of that makes a lot of sense. We'll see how well MaNa can capitalize on that. Already sending the Adept Shade backwards, so this is a very defensive kind of play over here. He's going to try and damage a drone or two, but doesn't end up getting any kills, but keeps that Adept very much so alive. Even keeping control as that Xel'Naga Watchtower with the probe, just going to ensure that no Lings are out there chasing him down.
Yeah, exactly that. So he sees that there's nothing threatening that Adept, maybe even going a little bit further back than he needs to. Very, very defensive Adept. There's an Oracle though, so MaNa is looking to exploit the position and try to do the best that he can with that. I don't know how much I like this Adept. I feel like he maybe could have been a little bit more aggressive. Now the second one's out though.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me a lot of the way that Neeb would sometimes play his PvZs, where sometimes he'd be extremely safe with his Adepts, and sometimes he would just go ham. And I am with you. I like it more when Protoss players are able to get in, and at least, even if they end up sacrificing the Adepts a bit, they get some additional scouting information to kill off a drone or two. But I do, in the overall, I feel like over the course of a series, if you mix it up, I'm a fan of sometimes playing it safe.
Definitely, I completely agree with that. There are players who are very, very good at being aggressive with those, and players who do the safety route all the time. I think a healthy mix is the way to go, Ravi. I agree. You know who's really good with Adepts? For example, Nina, I find. Nina is really good at giving damage.
Definitely with that. Anything that's micro-related, Cats, I feel like Nina's on top of, but you got a decent number of lanes. There's 3 Adepts over here, and that is a very important little choke point that MaNa's going to be making, while the Adepts sweep on in. We're killing off 4 workers, going for a 5th, getting 6. Hey, that's not a bad start.
Okay, this is Korean Protoss level oracles. It's one of the things that foreigners are always like, oh my god, the Korean Protosses are so much better than us with oracle control. But MaNa with that drive-by, I mean, he didn't even get his oracle to red and killed 6 workers. Really well done.
Yeah, someone's been playing Nice Username's Oracle practice map or something. It's looking really, really good for him, and keeping those Oracles very much so healthy as well. Now, we do have +1 melee on the way, which, I mean, has been kind of one of the bigger trends we've been seeing, but it's not the typical Lingbane, Hydra, Lingbane, Roach Ravager, and Cats. We got a Spire coming on out.
Yeah, Spire is a pretty interesting choice on the side of Vanya. It looks like it's his response to this double / potentially triple Oracle opening. So if it doesn't get spotted, great. If it gets spotted, of course, there is already a Stargate out. So Phoenix can start being produced.
Yeah, I feel like this gets to that hard point in the game for a Protoss player, though, where the Oracles, they can technically still sweep into the main from the north side of the third. But more often than not, I feel like they usually just end up going to the natural or the third base, right? They don't really go into the main all that often anymore.
Yeah, not really. We are going to see another poke into the third with another drive-by. This time around, it'll cost MaNa and Oracle for the cost of 3 drones. Not the best trade ever there.
Yeah, and still not really scouting that Spire. I think if MaNa had scouted the Spire right now, he'd already be sweeping out a couple of those Phoenix right now. And unfortunately, he didn't really end up making any. It was, like you said, just the Oracles, and then no Phoenix follow-up to snipe off Overlords around the map or anything.
Yeah, and he really hasn't seen too much. I love that Vanya has mixed in just like 2 roaches because, you know, like as a player, oftentimes you see roaches and you register roaches. And when you register a unit, you just say, okay, you're not always counting, like, is there enough roaches that I can, you know, you kind of have to wisen up to it and be like, huh, that's not very many roaches actually, right?
Oh, that's such a great sell. I'm completely with you on that. Now, I do want to note that there are 10 mutas coming out. That is a lot of mutas because, you know, if it was just 7 to start with or something, and then they dive in on one of those mineral lines, that shield battery can actually do quite a bit of time buying, allowing you to at least start up a first Phoenix, get some Stalkers warped in. There's right now 1 Stalker and 2 Sentries out of the map. There's 2 Archons, but the Archons are very clunky and are not going to be able to get to the space very quickly.
Yeah, I love the target firing by Vanya here, basically getting rid of the equivalent of the missile turret, but doesn't shoot back first. And now going after the probe line. This is a ton of damage that MaNa did just not see coming.
Yeah, oh god, I think, did he just lose the Oracle as well over there? That's not the end of the world.
Side as well.
Oh, okay, he's gonna try and go for this big attack, but look at that army. We already have a lot of roaches and ravagers over here. Recall is forced to be used. Now the recall is gonna allow the Archons to get involved and start pushing this back, but 17 workers already killed, Cats.
I mean, that recall might as well be the choice between the recall button or F10 and course screen, right? Because I mean, you know, when you pull back against Muta that are already doing damage and you forfeit your attack, it has to feel so bad. This is Vanya's game.
I'm definitely with you on that. And it's not even something that it's like, oh, MaNa panicked and decided to recall back. That attack was not going well, Cats. Like, that attack at best would trade out evenly, and MaNa would be losing all of his probes back at home. And unfortunately for MaNa, he's actually already losing most of his probes back at home, even with the Phoenix over here to chase these back, even with the shield battery overcharge, and the Archon to chase down the mutas. This has already done enough. If all the mutas die here, I think Vanya's fine.
Oh, those mutas could start killing each other just for the mental games right now.
For MaNa's sake, I hope that doesn't happen. But at the same time, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah. I mean, do you think, Ravi, if your opponent does that, how would it affect you? I feel like I would play better.
That's a tilting move. That's a tilting move.
Yeah. But I feel like I would try hard after the fact. Like, I would be like, oh, no, you don't get away with that.
But Cats, you try harder, but then if you still lose because they were actually that ahead, are you even more tilted now because you were trying?
Oh, no, yeah, I meant next game. I would leave this game. I would have left this game like 2 minutes ago.
Okay, fair enough.
Let's see if MaNa has something to say. This is a chunky army still from him, but Vanya is just trying to capitalize on all the damage that he has done so far. A Zealot Warpin will try to do what it can, and it does have charge, but more Baneling streaming in. It looks like Vanya is crushing through.
Yeah, even with as fantastic as the micro was over here from MaNa, the stats just are straight up unbeatable here. The number of units that Vanya has is simply greater, even with the shield battery overcharge, even with everything else that MaNa's doing. Vanya reigns supreme in game 1.
Yeah, and I love that killer instinct too, right? It's the kind of thing that really speaks to the completeness of a player that Vanya is, because while he is a rookie of sorts, he's a rookie that is already very well-rounded, and you love to see that.
Yeah, a really, really good choice. Now, we do have to go back to the fact that was Vanya, like you said, doing an excellent job of selling that this is not mutas, that this is going to be roaches, even making the 2 roaches as a big kind of bait there. But that is a one-off kind of thing, right? MaNa's going to be saying, oh, God, are you serious? I can't believe you got away with that. Oh, God, you sold that really well, but you don't get to do that anymore. MaNa's going to play safer at this point, right?
Certainly, or at least be more diligent with the scouting, hallucinate phoenixes, or, you know, if you're that oracle, maybe go in and check the main, right? Like this time, I think he's gonna be more awake, looking for those mind games.
Yeah. Well, we're moving on to Death Aura for game number 2. I feel like MaNa, the rest of everything was getting set up pretty well. If that wasn't like a big mute-up transition there that kind of caught him off guard, I feel like he was still in a good spot and everything. So I'm interested to see where things go, but Vanya's sitting up 1-0. It's a best of 5. It's not really close to match point just yet, but we'll see if that one victory ends up really, really costing MaNa, because, you know, these guys have had some pretty close games in that group stage, even though MaNa ended up taking it.
Yeah, they sure did. Was it a 2-1 or 2-0?
I believe it was a 2-0 if I go back and double check, but pretty sure it was a 2-0.
All right. This has been a good tournament for Vanya to kind of flip around a lot of those results to kind of like turn up, right? Nate would say, and I think you would appreciate the oh my god, what is it called? Ultras, super ultra.
Plus ultra.
Oh, plus ultra. Damn it. Dang it.
I appreciate it. You know what?
I tried my best.
Cats. You actually seem very much like a My Hero Academia fan, by the way.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, here is my hero. In the Academia of Team Liquid, it is MaNa!
No, Hero's not on Team Liquid anymore, Cats.
True.
Down here on the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have the red Zerg player. It is Vanya. Gonna be going for the pool first already over here. I actually am not sure, but I thought for a second he went for the pool first before the probe even got there to hash block. So that might have just been him anticipating like, all right, this is happening again.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about, where you can maybe do a 12 pull and just pull the drone down so that the probe thinks, you know, something's going on there. But it's gonna be a more regular pull from Vanya. So not too sad, I'm sure, about getting his first hatchery block, but the second one is gonna be a little bit extra annoying, especially with the pylon letting being complete.
Yeah, well, he is going to be able to get that up right around the time that those 300 minerals come around, but 6 Zerglings get started on up. Yeah, pylon completing is definitely going to be a bit annoying. Remember, that's also going to be 100 minerals down the drain there for MaNa, who is going for a gate Cyber Core before Nexus. With, you know, it's a pool first. You got to get up your wall in. You got to be able to prepare for those Zerglings coming across the map.
Yeah, that is very true. I'm not sure how much I like it, but I guess he really wants to skip the Zealot, right? And that's the main thing. Cause yeah, I mean, if you don't want to skip the Zealot, it doesn't seem like this Zerglings really get to do much anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess you can always, I feel like with this wall in starting to get up, you can always, if you need to, throw up like a pylon to full wall for a little bit while the Zerglings poke around, and you can get up the Adept. And, well, the Lings actually do take some time to make their way across the map after killing the pylons, so plenty of time for that first Adept to get on out. In these kind of situations, if you're up against the pool first, do you think Adept actually immediately starts going out, or do you kind of wait until you have some other units behind that wall first?
You would want to know about the gas is the most important thing, I think. So MaNa is aware of the gas timing, which means he knows when speed kicks in. When speed kicks in is when the fun and the party is over for those Adepts and whatever else you send out of the map.
Yeah. So it looks like he feels safe sending that first Adept on out. It's already in the middle of the map, going through that little speed zone and heading over to Vanya's side of the map to try and get some damage done.
I think we'll see a similar move to last game, right? Like where he just shades passively.
You know, he's getting a lot closer. I feel like now he's at the point where he can actually shade to the mineral lines. And last game, he wasn't able to get that close.
Is it the point of no return for this Adept, though, Ravi?
That's a good question. It's so funny. He almost got to the point where I'm like, you almost walked to the mineral line and not shaded. But yeah, he doesn't make it out of there. Uses the shade to at least bait the Lings away so that he could return.
Yeah, very well done. So now the speed is done for Vanya, and he's going across the map on the right-hand side, especially. So maybe trying to avoid vision, or actually he's just going straight to check the third with that first link. No such thing on the side of MaNa, who is actually going for glaives. Ravi, how do you feel about that?
So this is 4 gates glaives, and this has some potential lead up. Sometimes you end up seeing Protoss players will throw down the Dark Shrine behind this. Sometimes this ends up just being 4 gated depth with resonating glaives, and you kind of go into like immortals and other things like that. So I'm waiting to see what the plan is over here from MaNa. What is going to be the follow up? Because I think the Dark Shrine comes down around the second.
Oh, baby.
Warp in. There it is. Dark Shrine.
Dark Shrine, and I mean, Dark Shrine with you watching, Ravi, you've got to be pretty excited about this one. It's I was gonna ask you, do you think that there's like a like if you're casting and they make a Dark Shrine, does it work more often, Ravi, because you're willing it?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I wish I had some statistics on that.
It would be so cool.
I feel like I should keep track of that. But here's the thing, to keep a statistic on that, I would have to know every single time I wasn't watching and they made a Dark Shrine.
Yeah, you would need the full range of statistics. Every time I see a proxy hatch, it doesn't pan out well for the statistics unless it's Bly doing it. Then I'm like,
It's the caster
okay.
curse, man. Welcome to
I
our
can only
world.
bless Bly, apparently. Or more like,
Ooh.
Bly is the only one who knows how to do these.
This is a good start over here, Catch. He's going to be able to snipe off a queen and a roach, and all of these drones are not going to be mining for a little bit. Already sniping off the sport cone. That should immediately signal to Vanya. This is a very common follow-up to go for the Dark Shrine. He should, I think, immediately start thinking about how to deal with the VPs.
Yeah, and he is making 2 spores. One in the main will get sniped before it's completed. So let's see if Vanya has the presence of he remakes it right away. And the other spore, look at how diligent, going already to the third. Excellent crisis management from Vanya. And this is, I mean, it's a good start for MaNa. I completely agree, Ravi, but these are fantastic moves from the Russian.
I really have to commend Vanya on this. He's done, like you said, a fantastic job. This is the first time I feel like MaNa is finally getting a bit of damage done. And it's so funny, Cats. Whenever I see Adepts with Resonating Glaives running around, it feels like the first 12 of the 14 Adepts or something can get 2 drone kills. But it's the last 2 Adepts half the time that seem to just get another 8 or 9 after all the other Adepts are dead.
It's very difficult. It's very easy to lose a lot to the Adepts, and 2 can target fire drones. So, you think, it's just 2, I'll just clean them up. And they are usually the deadliest. Here's the DTs, but like we were talking about, Vanya has been so good, even like for 1 minute straight. And while they were getting sniped, he was already repositioning and remaking these spores.
Yeah, I would love to see MaNa, like, as all these units keep darting between the natural and the third base, use the DTs to just kill some of the lings or the roaches, because, it's not like there's an overseer or anything, and Sport Caller is not there. War Prism can always pick you up, but, look at that! Finding an opportunity to elevate into the main. Oh, if he right-clicks down the Spore, I don't know if he's going to actually get that, but the Unburrow, oh, wow. That got a little scary.
Yeah, it sure did, Ravi. I think if MaNa caught wind of it, he could have maybe unloaded everything and killed it before it reburrowed, or at least, maybe killed it and lost not all DTs before it was it was all said and done. So, well done. I mean, it's kind of a wash. The thing is, MaNa had a really good start because I think Vanya wasn't ready initially, but Vanya's crisis management was so good that I have actually no idea who's ahead here.
I think the one thing I'll say that in retrospect, we look back, Vanya didn't make a few roaches and a few lings to deal with this. Vanya made 12 roaches and a decent number of lings. Still ended up losing a handful of those drones to the Resonating Glaive to death at the very, very end of things. I think Vanya did immaculate defensive mechanisms and defensive setup for the first part of all the attacks. And then I feel like he kind of took a bit more damage than he should have, given how many units he made at the end.
Yeah, now MaNa finding more damage. 7 drones go down, a queen as well. Very well done with this little follow-up attack, and he's taking a third. And you know what? He's been probing up really, really strongly behind this, Ravi. So he finds himself in a very strong economic position, and Vanya is gonna have to do something with his Muta once again, provided that he can even make enough to threaten or at least maybe punish this Archons.
Yeah, definitely have to be able to push back the Warp Prism and the Archons, right? At minimum, force back or like a recall, but maximum, hopefully be able to get a kill.
Oh, it feels so bad to be supply blocked, especially right as you've invested into early timing for Aspire, but now unsupply blocked, adding some Muta finally.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big differences between this game and the last game is you said last game, 2 roaches were made to sell the story of the mutas. This game, a bunch of roaches were made in order to just stay alive here. So the difference in the number of mutas coming out is massive. It's literally half the number of mutas of last game. So even if this completely catches MaNa 100% off guard, 1 shield battery or like a handful of stalkers can do far better defending versus 5 mutas than 10 mutas diving on in when you're also out of position.
The Warp Prism, this is huge. The mutas are chasing the Warp Prism. Now he can recall the Archons potentially before the rest of the army shows up. So that was a really good move by MaNa. What needed to happen there is that the Archons are kind of like down, and the rest of the army of Vanya is around to snipe those Archons while they recall. And that's what Vanya was hoping for, but unfortunately not able to capitalize enough. This muta do their job, but don't really, don't really gain him a huge edge or anything like that. Not
yet. Well, at least nice snipe off over there for Vanya. I think MaNa may have had like a miss rally or something. It was an Immortal and a Stalker in the middle of the map, but still got a few more back at home, and 1 Colossus. Never actually made the 2nd Colossus there. I guess that might have been because he saw the mutas right after.
Yeah, no clue. I mean, 1 Colossus I think is okay. It's a good unit. It can be confusing to your opponent as well. Should help with the links quite a bit if you don't have a lot of zealots or charge very early. Now a 2nd Colossi is on the way too, so yeah, I think you can mix in the unit, and it's not such a you don't need to follow the recipe by the
book.
By the recipe. By the book, yeah.
He actually canceled the Colossus and is now starting a Disruptor, which, against such a Ravager Roach heavy army, I actually don't hate.
Yeah. Now Vanya is the one sieging though, Ravi, and he's going to take advantage of that wall for the time being. There are Disruptors on the way. One of the best, I think, defensive units against this type of army comp.
I'm 100% with you on that. We're going to see a big attack coming in from Vanya from multiple different angles. Colossus and getting Focus Fire down for a little bit. Disruptor is going to come out, but it comes out into the Roaches and Ravagers. Immediately gets Focus Fire down. Vanya is swarming over MaNa.
What a great blink by MaNa back into Vanya, essentially, because he overcharged that battery. And I think that's going to be just enough. Wow, it really was looking so good for Vanya there for a second, Ravi. But the battery overcharge can really do wonders. I did not explain, basically an aggressive blink back into the fight from MaNa, obviously to defend his third, but the right call, a veteran move, love it, and yeah, he's gonna end up closing that game.
Well, that was such a scary engagement, Cats. I thought, MaNa's doing a great job with that early game, had like a 15, almost 20 drone lead, was deflecting the mutas after killing 1 or 2 of them with the Archons, and then the big attack came out. I'm like, oh, Vanya looks like he has too much, but MaNa, like you said, just incredible micro and decision making with that engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really looked like Vanya had enough there, and the positioning was so good because it cornered the army of MaNa onto a choke, which is exactly what you want with Ravagers. But then instead of all the units dying to the corrosive vials, MaNa shows the blink on aggressively, which is a difficult thing to do, right? Like to blink into a Zerg army is so difficult. But if he blunked defensively, he would have definitely lost that base. He would have definitely lost the third, and from there, then Vanya is in more than a playable position. So very well done. Love it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're moving on to Everdream for game number 3 with this tied up series 1-1. So we're guaranteed to go to a game 4. That's already pretty exciting for me, Cats. We'll see whether or not Vanya is going to be able to retake the lead in the series, or if MaNa is going to kind of use the momentum from that last game and start carrying this on forward a bit. But I mean, it definitely became a very dicey situation that last game. So I really feel like this is anyone's game right now, Cats.
I completely agree. Ravi, has he got enough steam in his life? Is he running strong here, or will MaNa continue to gain himself an advantage like the Firefox that he is? In the bottom left-hand side of the map, spawning as the red Zerg player, it is Vanya.
And up at the top right-hand side of the map, we have the blue Protoss player from Team Liquid. He is MaNa. I love those riffs, Casts. Those are probably one of my favorite part of this, like waking up in the morning now.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They'll really wake you up. They kind of like give you a little bit of a rest on the intros, right? You don't have to be as epic all of a sudden. Good.
Yeah. Okay, well, you got the very quick hatchery being taken over. The third base, Vanya was just so ready to deal with the probe block this game, and has already got that hatchery going up. He just doesn't even want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, most def. So MaNa will be going into the main here of Vanya, being a little bit annoying. And Vanya is going to make a spawning pool as per usual. Nothing out of the ordinary, Ravi.
Yeah, I mean, at least going to be a little bit different from the last game, where I think the last game he just went for the pool before hatchery, was able to help make the lings kill off the pylon block and everything. But this game, yeah, just going for the faster hatchery on the other side. But Everdream is a funky map sometimes, Cats. How do you feel about it in this matchup?
I really like it, but I like the Rich Vespin Geyser quite a bit. So I like using the Rich Vespin Geyser offensively.
Oh, of course you do. Of course you do.
So this is one of my favorite CVP maps. Anything that's weird enough will be one of my favorite maps. So
yeah, I'm with you there, Cats. And you know what? I'll say one of my favorite games that I've played in this season of the ladder map pool. I took my opponents and they didn't notice for about 12 minutes. I literally mined out that gas geyser before they noticed.
That's amazing. That's the way. Did you take your own or the other?
No, I just took theirs.
Oh.
And then I just kept coming in with like War Prism harassment and like the right hand side of their main base and over in the natural. It was great. Of course, it was all blank BTs. So.
Of course. Yeah. Needless to say.
Yeah. It can be a fun map though. There's a lot of funny quirks on this map, but Vanya has definitely shown that seems to be favoring going into the Spire in the last two games. And I feel like if he does it again this game, it's transcended from this is my way of kind of coming back in games or throwing in mix-ups to this is my game plan to go into a Spire.
Indeed. But Spire twice in a row, do you think he's going to do it a third time?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like that will be the big decider of whether or not this is actually just a game plan or if this is going to be a mix-in. But hey, we see a lot of lings being made right now, Cats.
That's indeed
32.
Quite a few lings. So we're going to see an attempt at a break here on the side of Vanya. Not something that he has tried yet. It is Glaives on the way for MaNa and a robo that is not completed. Hopefully, for his sake, he starts making, well, he'll have to start making an immortal now as soon as he can, I suppose. This link's already working on the gateway. What do you think, Ravi? Is this good enough?
Oh, I think that he's going to have another layer of the wall in over here, but that Stalker's going to end up falling. There's another Adept behind it, but I'm worried Cats is not in play. Oh, God, the Lynx get the full surround. That could be game ending right there, Cats, but he's not even going after the pylon. He's just killing all the units right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is great from Vanya trying to, after he killed that Stalker, he just went in there right away, but that's a crucial positioning mistake from MaNa, right? I would think that there's definitely enough for two units to sit comfortably between those buildings. It's a little bit of a weird angle for sure. Ooh, the Immortal barely makes it out here.
Resonating Glaives is not going to be finishing up for a little bit. Those lings can continue to try and snipe off that pylon. I want to note, MaNa is still up 2 workers, but the Immortal's going to get surrounded over here. The shield battery is not finished in time. The probe's already pulled off the line. I think that this is hitting the point of no return, Cats, as MaNa falls down to a probe deficit. Shield battery may finish, even with a shield battery overcharge, which will keep these probes alive for a surprising amount of time. There's just too much DPS.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. The battery overcharge is pretty good, Ravi. Okay, it'll push the units away, but once it runs out, now Vanya can finish it off. That battery overcharge is powerful. MaNa is trying to reestablish a wall. It looks like they can almost get in there, huh?
Yeah. GG, Vanya goes up 2-1 in his best of 5 and is now 1 game away from knocking MaNa out of the bracket. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be going to a game number 4 in just a little bit, but we're going to give these players a short little rest. Don't go anywhere. You're watching DreamHack SC2 Masters.
Welcome back to DreamHack Masters. We are here with Vanya versus MaNa. It's an awesome match so far. Somewhat of an unexpected result for most people watching, I think, as Vanya is taking the 2-1 lead, Ravi.
It has been a very crazy and active series so far, Caps, between the early aggression from both MaNa and also Vanya in that last game, the Muta swaps. I mean, we've had some pretty hectic situations here, but I'm wondering, okay, game number 4. I feel like each one of these games, Cats, if I was like a player on the ladder or something, I would look at every single one of these games and think for either player that lost, oh, that's kind of like a one-off loss right there. Like, oh, the Ling Flood caught me off guard and my adept wasn't in position. Oh, the Muta tech switch caught me off guard and I didn't really read that properly. Oh, you know, such and such adepts did a bit too much damage and I could just control that better. So oh man, we might have another situation like this. Well, let's introduce the players. Starting up here at the top right-hand side of the map, we have the red Zerg player going for a good old 12 pool. It is Vanya.
Bottom left-hand side with a very quick scout that is going to see no natural. It is MaNa.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay.
Vanya's doing it.
Something.
Vanya's doing it.
Oh, yes. Okay, MaNa started sending that probe up the ramp. If you actually check his vision, you'll see he sees a bit of creep, but then he saw the drone moving out and he thought, oh, well, yeah, you're just going for a hatch first. I'm just going to continue blocking this. Oh, you're going to the third. This is just like all the other games.
This is brilliant. Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about, Ravi. This is the mind game that I was talking about. You can play with a 12 pool because that probe is not there to scout so much. It's there to block. So if you give him something to block, if you show a drone on the low ground, it has no reason to go on the high ground because his job is to block.
Yeah. Pylon is definitely going to get canceled over here. The drone is also already over here to try and push back this probe. Make sure it can't be annoying.
Beautiful move here by Vanya. I mean, this circling is so good. I never do this. Like I usually use the next 2 links to try and shoot the probe away to maybe delay the pylon. But Vanya just shaves off 1 circling very graciously, very nicely, and that's enough that enough DPS that maybe it deters from the chances that the probe is going to drop another pylon. It chases the probe away. It's not going to kill the probe ever, but it doesn't need to.
Yeah. Now, this is not going to be one of those auto-loss situations or anything that sometimes a Protoss player gets into because they didn't see the topo at all. The Lings get in and just kill the pylon because there's no Zealot. So at least MaNa is reacting well on that side. But, oh, that Cyber Core is getting very, very low. And you can see that Vanya is looking for opportunity. He does get a Ling in on the other side. I like that the probe is actually body blocking the Ling from a full surround, but I don't know how that Cybernetic Core is going to stay alive.
It's not, and this is what Vanya's going for. It's really good. It's a good start, right? And it's a little bit of a positional mistake for MaNa.
Oh, it's going to end up falling eventually. There are 2 adepts now, so I don't believe those Lings should be able to get any real other substantial damage done. But it may make MaNa feel a little bit uncomfortable. Those Lings managed to circumvent the adepts shading around. There's an opportunity for them to continue picking away at the wall, but at the same time, then you have to make more Lings to deal with the adepts, so.
Most definitely. I will say, though, Protoss players in general, they've gotten a lot better about dealing with 12 pools preemptively just by the order of where they drop their buildings, right? This is a larger map, so it's very difficult to account for a 12 pool, I think. But if MaNa ends up winning the series, I'd be very curious to ask him whether he would consider repositioning his wall up to have the Cyber Core in one of the positions that's adjacent to the first cello that pops up. Because being the furthest away that is the building that the Lynx can pick off. That's the buildings that the only building that the Lynx can pick off. So I think you'd rather have a gateway building than the Cyber Core.
That's a really interesting thought because in some ways I actually looked at that wall and I thought that's actually a better wall for the Cyber Core because there's less surface area. Not every single Ling can attack that Cybernetic Core. I think like 2 or 3 Lings get left out. But I think you're right. Like it's not just about the surface area. It's about how close is the Zealot to trying to push back any of those Lings. So yeah, well, the Cyber Core is remade at this point, so the tech is finally getting on up. Nice snipe off on the drone. The Queens are actually blocking the drone, and it takes so long to get out of the way.
Yes, indeed. So that's a decent move and something good going for MaNa finally in this game. It's been a decent start for Vanya, I would say. I'd be pretty happy with his position, sniping the Cyber Core and kind of like resetting things a little bit off of a build order that was already not greedy at all, right? Like MaNa scouted early enough and reacted well enough that he had 2 gateways and a Cyber Core to to defend. So nice situation here for Vanya, but nothing game ending.
All right, so with Resonant Enclaves coming up behind all this, we got a Dark Shrine coming up, but this is a Dark Shrine with, again, the 4-gate opening. But again, it's been a very different kind of game. So I'm interested to see how well this is going to work. It's a lot harder to tell how all these very narrow windows and timings work out when you have a very different opening where there are a lot of those little skirmishes early on. Because I feel like most of these kind of openings and builds usually are reliant on timings that are specifically designed around normal play, and they haven't really interacted that much yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of the more standard. I mean, he's kind of reverting back to game 1, right, Ravi? Do you or was it game 2 or game 1? I don't quite.
Game 2, yeah, game 2.
Yeah, game 2.
He was able to tie it up.
I mean, yeah, it was good, but Vanya at the same time I feel like had a really good reaction, and now he's in a little bit better of a position. Perhaps this is looking scary though. This is a lot of adepts already on the side of MaNa. 22 links and 2 spines. I love this guy. I love this guy so much. Whenever I talk to Search players, Ravi, to Search Pro players, and I'm like, hey, what about 2 spines? They're like, no, cats. 2 spines is too much, cats. 1 spine is already too much, cats.
I have to say, though, Cats, I have been loving the Warp Prism micro over here because the Queens have been pretty far back for the most part. They're trying to right-click down that Warp Prism, but all of the Lings are gone. One of the Queens is going to end up falling. A second Queen is going to end up falling with Resonant Enclaves now finished. And the DTs can now just go after the hatchery while the Adepts kill the drones.
Yeah, the spine is going to help, and the Banelings could be a partial answer to the DTs if they are not paying attention, and Vanya goes for the great moves, but he is just going to give up as there is not much, and he kind of ends up getting caught off guard there by those DTs this time around, Ravi.
Yeah, I mean, 2 big things differ from the second game that we were talking about, where Vanya was able to push back at least a lot of the Adepts initially, still took some damage from it, but one was that Vanya had a bunch of roaches in that game. And I think the second thing that we started seeing at the end there, Cats, was that all of the Banelings nest was like finishing up as the attack came in. And the Banelings weren't done until literally the tap out. I think the Banelings finished up as he typed GG. So, I mean, I think that really hurt the ability to deal with those Adepts, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think that Vanya was maybe relying a little bit more on the snipe on the Cybercore to throw things up for MaNa. Because MaNa still hit a really good timing, let's be honest, with those Adepts for how the game started. It was very fast. It was very well done. It was a lot of stuff. And, you know, I think Vanya just didn't expect it. So I think his idea to go for a Baneling Nest is pretty cool because you sniped a Cybercore, right? Like the unit that you would want to make earlier rather than later off of a Cybercore is the Sentry. And if there's no Sentries, Baneling Bust becomes so very strong against Protoss. But yeah, unfortunately, MaNa killed him before he could do anything with the Baneling Nest. So.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought. It really feels, I mean, I can already feel and sense how much preparation Vanya has been putting into this series and maybe trying to identify some of the weaknesses of MaNa's openings and his playstyle. So I've really loved and enjoyed seeing all this preparation that Vanya has been throwing out. That last game did not work out in his favor. But see where things go on Pillars of Gold, Cats. This is game number 5. This is already a great start for today, all right? Because we had like, you might call the game 5 curse, the game 5 blessing, depending on whether or not you enjoy heart attacks, but for your favorite players. But we're doing it.
Yeah, definitely a blessing for me. It is on the bottom left-hand side, Vanya.
And on the other side of the map, the player in Team Liquid Blue, he is MaNa.
What is that? The decal that MaNa uses? It's like almost like a is it like Protoss medicine? Protoss.
I think it's the. Oh God, I could be wrong about this, but I believe it's the level 50. Protoss or Terran? I think it's actually the Terran, level 50 Terran decal. That's for the Protoss race. I could be wrong about that though.
Reminds me of a hospital for some reason though. Yeah.
A hospital?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I mean, I guess there is the little red cross on there.
And there's the snake. There's the snake. Isn't there a snake or something like that in the medicine symbol? Maybe
Cats
not.
confirms. Just thinks hospitals are all snakes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We got a Nexus first over here. Oh, sorry. Oh my God, Cats. I just saw only a Nexus in production, and I didn't see a Cyber Core, and I thought it was a Nexus first. Sorry, this is just a Gate Nexus Core.
That's okay.
Forget what I was saying.
Pretty normal. It's a
so
pretty
excited.
good Nexus. 3 hatcheries on the side of Vanya already, so I'm loving that.
Yeah. Now,
Already established this third. Nice.
yeah, MaNa's gonna come in over here with his probe. He's gonna continue just tasing away at some of the drones. And interestingly, there's only one drone on gas right now.
Yeah, that is
MaNa sees
interesting.
that.
Yeah, Vanya just prioritizing the mineral intake for the time being. So MaNa has a little bit more room to wiggle with adepts if he wants to be aggressive, is what that should mean to him, right? The adepts can stay out on the map a little bit longer. Maybe he can shade into that area where there isn't creep on the main base of Vanya and just kind of play from there a little bit longer. That again, someone that really likes doing that, that's really annoying with that, is Nina. With her adepts, she always shades into the area where there's no creep and just kind of camps there and you know, tries to do stuff with that. If there is an opportunity to do something like that, it's in a game like this one. So let's see if MaNa does something like it.
I would love to see something like that, but well, the first adept's making its way forward. A few of those links are already here, but most importantly, that queen is ready and waiting to greet this adept. MaNa's gonna try and get a creep tumor, does successfully get it. You can't cancel those creep tumors anymore, so that is a nice little waste of energy there.
Yeah, really well done. The adept will be pushed back as he no longer has any shields. And wow, this is a very fast Glaives once again. Very nice job by our observer catching it. I'm not sure how you caught it, like before it started or something. It just zooms into the Twilight archives. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
This is what I was talking about. Love it. Oh no.
2 drone kills? All right. Okay, that kind of sucks, but hey, 2 drone kills for an adept, it's some value.
Yeah, 2 drone kills after a creep tumor. It's a really good value adept, but it could have been so much better if he got to that little, what is it called?
Alcove or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to Vanya's props, I mean, he did a really good job of surrounding the adept very fast with the drones and not allowing him to get into comfortable of a position. So well done by him capitalizing.
I want to get your opinion on this 4-gate Resonating Glaives opening, because there are some builds that Protoss players will do to pressure their opponents, and you'll know they're coming. Your opponent has been doing it almost every single game, but that doesn't mean it's actually just a simple way to defend. Do you feel like this is one of those builds?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's a kind of a staple of the matchup right now. Glaive adepts are just so very strong at finding damage. They're not super expensive. You don't need a huge commitment. A lot of players have shown that you can just kind of do warp-ins and not miss them and advance with a bunch of units when you're ready. And it is a 4-gate committal. It's not nothing, but MaNa, if he finds, you know, decent damage or a little bit of damage, he'll be happy.
Yeah, Orta gonna be able to find a queen over here at the 3rd base. There's a single spine crawler here to help defend, and look at that. MaNa's gonna try and go after the spore crawler once again, but look at that positioning. Gonna be able to block in his adept behind that mineral line. The skill needs to have some surface area, but with more adepts being warped in, and that warp prism staying safe versus the queen, we're gonna see a pretty big army over here.
Yeah, the spore is kind of trapped there by its peers, and now on the other side, the adept will shade into 3 roaches. This is pretty decent from MaNa. I mean, it's a good position by Vanya, but like you said, it's just so difficult to have enough to deal with this effectively without losing anything or without losing too much, which is why, Ravi, I like the 2 spines. But if you're going for roaches, it is so very difficult to justify further investment, right? Because if you look at things, Vanya's already behind in workers as all this happens.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. Every single one of those roaches, every single set of those lings that you end up making, and hell, even the spine crawlers that you end up making, that's all fewer drones, not just the resources cost for those, but I mean the larva investment and everything. So you can see that Vanya basically did the damage to himself and then could afford to take less damage than before. Oh boy, this is Cat's. The spore crawler. Okay, he's gonna burrow. I love that Vanya is able to get the nice little surround there with the lings on the spore crawler to protect it versus the DTs and still get the burrow off. But we end up seeing that those DTs are happily just gonna turn into some Archons. War Prism needs to regen some hit points. And then MaNa's gonna kind of begin with round 2 of the harass.
Yeah, that's really nice for him, especially as the lair is finally finished for Vanya. The DTs were gonna run low on steam, and now here's the Archons. Unannounced will go straight for the queen. It could have grabbed a couple of drones, but instead will get a queen for their troubles. So very nice pickup from MaNa.
And I love the thing about when you do the DT Archon drop is that whenever you kill a queen, it just makes it easier for your Archons to move back in because now you don't have to worry about your Warp Prism getting sniped off by the queens or gradually taking as much damage because there's no anti-air here besides the queens. Oh my God, that Roach Warren.
Oh, it is so low, and this is where it gets complicated. I mean, that Spore Crawler is going to have to reposition where the queen and the roaches are currently sitting at. Otherwise, that Roach Warren is going to be a little bit too exposed.
There's a queen at the third base that has transfused energy. I feel like it would be prudent to do that, right? Because otherwise, it's one shot away from dying.
I think that would be a good idea had he thought about it, Ravi. I think that would be really good. He is still floating a little bit of energy, but the problem is you also lost a queen. So at some point, you know, like, oh, and there it is. So yeah, that Spore is really important to be placed there right now.
Yeah, and that's actually going to keep the Roach Warren alive, not just to make more roaches, but to finish roach speed, which is a very important upgrade if Vanya ever wants to get on the aggressive side of things, which is definitely shown. He wants to be on the aggressive side of things during this entire series so far, but Archons are still getting damage done. I have to say, MaNa's doing a lot more damage than I've seen a lot of pro players do with Archon drops lately.
Yeah, like you said, maybe he's playing micro maps or something because this man is completely on fire. He's just everywhere, and he gets so much value out of the harassment and the units more than most players.
What is he at home, though? MaNa, he just warped in a bunch of adepts, and he is doing harassment with them. And I'm going to tell you one thing, Cats. There's not a lot to defend for Vanya back at home, but there's also not that much over here for MaNa.
Oh, this is gonna get weird, Ravi. Here we go, tit for tat. It's gonna be both players pushing into each other. The adepts are gonna do a lot of economical damage, whilst Vanya needs to defeat this army. But there is 4 shield batteries, one of which is overcharged. There is Immortals, Archons. I don't even know how this man has managed to accrue such an advantage. Look at this army; it looks invincible. Nothing dies.
Oh, Cats! There it is. GG.